All right, let's talk about the massive Anthropic code leak. This is one wild story. We've got human error, cybercriminals, and a whole bunch of secret, unreleased features. And it all leads to this one big question. Was this really an accident? Let's dive in.
So, on March 31st, 2026, the entire world of AI development just got turned completely on its head. But, this whole global story, it wasn't some sophisticated hack, not at all. It all came down to a single, shockingly simple mistake. And the result of that one little mistake? Well, it was this. Over 500,000 lines of code for Claude Code, Anthropic's flagship AI agent, suddenly just out there for anyone to see. The entire blueprint to one of the most valuable AI products on the planet was suddenly out in the wild.
So you have to be asking, how does something like this even happen at a multi-billion-dollar company like Anthropic? Well, the answer is kind of funny. It's both super technical and, at the same time, terrifyingly simple. Let's break down exactly how it went down.
See, this wasn't just one failure. It was a cascade. It was like a perfect storm of little things going wrong. First, an engineer publishes a new package. Totally normal. But the build process, it messes up. It includes a debug file that should have been stripped out. Then, inside that file, there's a link to a cloud storage bucket that was, you guessed it, mistakenly left public. 3 small, unrelated errors, one absolutely catastrophic result.
This comment from a developer on Hacker News really just nails it. A simple text file, the npm ignore file, had one job: keep certain files out of the package. And it failed. It's a huge wake-up call, right? In modern software, some of the most boring-looking little config files are actually holding the entire thing together.
Okay, so this disaster with our intellectual property, it got worse. It quickly turned into a direct cybersecurity threat for everyday people. Because wherever there's chaos online, you can bet criminals are watching and waiting to take advantage. Now, it is really important to understand that we're talking about 2 totally separate things here. On one side, you have Anthropic's accidental leak. That's about them losing their secret sauce. But on the other side, you have this malicious lure, a trap, set by criminals who were just using all the hype around the leak to trick people. So what was in that trap? Some really nasty stuff. Threat actors were putting up fake code repositories on GitHub, claiming, hey, we've got the leaked Claude code. But anyone who downloaded it wasn't getting AI secrets. Oh no, they were getting their computers infected with things like the Vidar info stealer, which is designed to steal everything. Passwords, crypto wallets, you name it. Okay, now for the really fun part. Once developers got their hands on the real source code, what was actually inside? Because this wasn't just code. It was basically a treasure map, a complete roadmap to where Anthropic was headed next. I mean, look at this stuff. This is a blueprint for the next generation of AI. We're talking true autonomy here. Kairos, an agent that's always on, working for you in the background. Coordinator mode, which is basically an AI manager for a whole team of other AIs. This is the stuff everyone in the industry is trying to build, and it turns out Anthropic already built it. They just hadn't released it yet. And what's even crazier is that the code showed how they were planning to defend themselves. In an industry where everyone is basically trying to copy everyone else's models, Anthropic was already playing chess. They built this thing called anti-distillation. You can think of it like planting fake clues to throw competitors off the scent. It's designed to poison the data for anyone trying to steal their methods. Just brilliant. But it wasn't all serious corporate espionage and secret roadmaps. Buried deep in all that code was something nobody expected, a fully developed virtual pet system called Buddy. It's basically a Tamagotchi that lives in your computer terminal. It had 18 different species, rarity levels, and even stats for things like snark and chaos. Turns out it was all ready to go for an April Fool's joke. And this wasn't just some half-baked idea. They went all in. They programmed a whole probability system for it. You can see the exact chances right here. A 60% shot at getting a common buddy, but only a 1% chance for a legendary one. I mean, this was a fully realized, ready-to-ship feature. And maybe my favorite discovery, the most human thing in all of this code, was this. This is the actual line of code they wrote to figure out if you, the user, were getting mad. They didn't build some super complex AI sentiment model. No, they just wrote some code to check if you were swearing at the AI. It's just such a simple, elegant solution to a very, very human problem. So once the leak was discovered, the internet did what the internet does. The code spread like wildfire. Any hope Anthropic had of putting this genie back in the bottle? Yeah, that was gone in minutes. The speed of this is it's mind-blowing. Just look at this timeline. In under 4 hours, it went from one single post on X to being copied, or forked, as developers say, over 41,000 times on GitHub. That means thousands and thousands of independent copies were now scattered all over the web. By the time Anthropic could even get a public statement out, it was too late. The code was everywhere. Forever. So, all of this brings us to a really provocative question. A theory that's been making the rounds. Given how this all played out, what if this wasn't an accident? What if this was the most brilliant, riskiest PR stunt in the history of tech? Now, I know, it sounds crazy, but when you start to actually line up the evidence, it's not so easy to just dismiss it out of hand. So let's actually look at the arguments for and against this masterstroke theory. On the one hand, the arguments for it being a stunt are pretty compelling. The timing is just perfect, right before their big April Fool's Buddy feature was going to be revealed, and it completely changed the conversation after they'd gotten some bad press. But on the other hand, the arguments against are just as strong. I mean, the damage was real. They literally handed their entire strategic roadmap to their biggest competitors. In the end, the simplest explanation is probably the right one. Occam's razor, right? It was probably just a mistake. A really, really big one.
You know, in the end, whether it was an accident or a work of genius, the outcome is exactly the same. The entire world got a front row seat to the incredible, powerful, and sometimes kind of weird engineering happening inside Anthropic. Their biggest mistake accidentally became the greatest product demo ever. And it leaves all of us with one huge question. What are they going to do now that everybody's seen their playbook?